Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today TV. I have a mother-daughter pair here. Christy and Annabel Beam are here. You might have heard of them from the book Miracles from Heaven. Well, I've got them right here in our studio. Good to have you guys.
Thank you for having us.
How'd it go on the broadcast show?
Great.
Was it good?
Yes.
Did my dad let you talk?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so for those who maybe don't know, let's try to give them, sort of the short version of what happened in the lives of your whole family, but I mean directly in yours, but definitely in the whole family that changed everything.
Well, Annabel had an incurable intestinal disorder, and it's called pseudo-obstruction motility disorder, and she also had antral hypomotility disorder, and which just means that her intestines didn't work correctly, and so she couldn't really digest food properly. So she struggled to get a bottle of water down in a day, to get basic foods digested in a day. She would eat, portions of a meal, and her stomach would distend and get very bloated, and she was just in agony, just great pain. And
You saw a few doctors, I'm guessing.
we did. We saw I call it chasing the diagnosis. We chased the diagnosis for years until we met a brilliant doctor in Boston, Dr. Samuel Nurko, and he was an answer to prayer. He was able to get Annabel on a medication that gave her the most quality of life she could have. And she was on that and 9 other medications. So she was on 10 medications when in Boston, Annabel had given up, and she had said what we thought was our final trip to Boston, I want to die, and I want to go to heaven and live with Jesus where there is no more pain. And she was 9 years old at that time. And but she rallied, and we brought her home, and that's when the incident happened.
Before we get to that,
yes.
Annabel, had you given up? I mean, was the pain just too much?
Yes, and see, it's not like, oh, I just want to give up. I had actually put a lot of thought into this because my mom said after I said that, she said, oh, but Annabel, whenever you'd be gone, we'd miss you so much. And I said, don't worry, Mommy, you'd kill yourself and come with me, and Daddy would look after the girls.
She had a plan.
Ooh, well, how did that strike you? That would both break my heart and mortify me.
I clutched her and prayed and cried and just rubbed her and just held her and loved her, and I begged God. I just said, please God, no. Please God, no. This can't. I mean, we had prayed and cried out for help for her. Just let her have one good day. Let today be the good day. That became a whole other level of prayer.
Wow, okay. Things changed.
Things
and in
changed.
a weird way.
Oh, my word. Yes,
Who wants to tell me the story?
So, do you want me to start and you can jump in?
Sure.
So, I was doing laundry because we had been in Boston for so long, and we were going to go for New Year's to Corpus, where Kevin's nanny lived. So I was packing, and the other 2 girls had, I think, bothered Annabel enough that she decided she was going to give it. She spent most of her time on the couch in the fetal position with a heating pad. That was her life. But that particular day, I think they encouraged her enough that she felt, I think I'm going to try. I'm going to go climb trees for a little while.
And where is this at?
We live south of Burleson, between Burleson and Alvarado.
Okay, so outside of Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes, outside of Fort Worth, Texas. And so Annabel said, I think I'm going to try. And I said, okay, if you have a hard time, come on in. And off she went. And about an hour later, our oldest daughter, who was 11 at the time, comes in quite hysterical. And all I could understand was Annabel's in the tree. Annabel's stuck in the tree. Well, I just thought she'd climbed too high.
Climbed a tree and got stuck.
So I go out there without a cell phone or anything, and she's physically dragging me, hysterical. And I'm thinking, you are really overreacting, my goodness. And so we get there, and her little sister, who is 7 at the time, has a metal pipe. I don't know where she got it, and she is digging mightily at the base of this tree, just the 7-year-old frantically digging. And Abby is hysterically pointing, and it's like everything just shut down. And then I'm like, whoa, and they point and scream at the same time. She's in the tree. And then Abby pulled me around. What happened was there was a branch 30 feet in the air of this massive cottonwood tree that had broken off, and when it did, it left a hole. Well, they were up on one of the other branches sitting, and that branch began to give way. And so Annabel, in an attempt to get safely down, she went inside that hole and fell 30 feet head first to the bottom of the hollowed out cottonwood tree.
So the tree had basically died, and so the inside was rotten, but there were still some branches left, but some were falling off.
Exactly.
And you guys didn't know that. Do you remember going into the tree?
But technically it wasn't dead because it bloomed.
It bloomed that previous year and the year after, so we had no
Really?
idea it was hollow. No idea. Yeah.
Huh.
Odd. But
Yeah,
do you
you're right.
remember being in the tree?
Well, like, I remember bits and pieces because there were pretty much what would happen is I'd wake up and I would wake up from being unconscious, and then I would go to sleep, and then I would become unconscious again, and then I would wake up back up, and that's pretty much how it was.
Was it because you hit your head or something on the way down? Or
No,
you
I
don't
think
know?
it was because in my attempt to get out, it had just rained, and so it was really muddy, and I think I was clawing to get out of the tree, but every single time I did, I slipped, and I think when I slipped, I hit something and became unconscious again. And then I woke back up, and I would hear something, and then I would try again and become unconscious again. And maybe that played a factor in it, but I remember one of the first things I remember being in the tree was whenever Abby, I had just literally woken up and I had been in the tree, I guess 5 minutes, because I think it was before you had even come out, because Abby said, Annabel, how are you? And I didn't respond for a few minutes because I was like, where am I?
Yeah, sure.
And then I said, it's really hard to breathe. And so Abby said, Adeline's got a pipe and she's gonna dig you out. And then I didn't remember anything else until whenever Abby was going like this on the tree, and she was like, Annabel, we're calling 911, we're gonna get you out. And it just came in bits and pieces like that.
Why was it hard to breathe? Were you having a hard time breathing, or was the air just
Well, because
damp
it was muddy. It was just pure mud on the inside of the tree.
Yeah.
And there were spaces that there weren't, but on the outside and on the floor and everywhere, there was just mud. And so it was the air was really muggy and hard to breathe.
You were 30 feet from the only air hole.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember anytime that I was awake, there was this little crack, and when it was right by a little stump that stuck out of the tree, and I would try and crawl up there, and I would put my lips against it and try and take in some good breaths before I fell back down again.
So, at some point, you feel like you left the earth and visited heaven. Tell me how that happened.
Well, at first, the first thing I noticed was it was really bright. And then, whenever I kind of clicked that I was in heaven, it's because I saw my Mimi, who had died a couple of years back, and that's how it was kind of clicked. Oh my goodness, I'm in heaven.
Did you think you were dead?
I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really oh my gosh, I just died or
Right.
anything like that. I just wasn't really thinking. I was just in such awe, wow, I'm in heaven. I didn't really think, am I dead? Am I alive? Is this a dream or anything like that? And God said to me, Annabel, the firefighters are going to get you out. And whenever they do, there will be nothing wrong with you. And at that time, I didn't know I won't have my diseases anymore. I thought no paralysis, broken bones, broken neck,
Sure, from the
stuff
fall.
like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From the fall. And then I asked God, because for that little thing, I was like, wow, there's no pain here. Because while the branch was breaking, I didn't want to make things worse, but Abby was like, Annabelle, you need to get in the hole. And I was like, Abby, my stomach's starting to hurt again. And so then whenever I was there, I was like, Jesus, can I stay here with you where there is no more pain? He said, no, Annabelle, I have plans for you on earth that you cannot fulfill in heaven. And so what was kind of going through my mind is I was like, why would you do this to me? Why would you give me this teaser of a fantastic rest of my life and then send me back down to all the pain and misery? Because it didn't really click. He's gonna heal me. I was like, that's so mean. You're gonna
Send me back to the pain.
Yeah, give me a teaser of this perfect life in heaven for about 5 or 10 minutes and then send me back to this horrible, awful pain.
But he gave her encouragement because he said, Annabel, I'm going to send my guardian angel to be with you and light the tree and to stay with you. And then Annabel had told me, she shared with me the next day, she's just out of the blue, she said, Mommy, I went to heaven when I was in that tree.
Okay, let me back up. So
Okay.
you get her out, the firefighters
Yes,
come.
okay.
The firefighters get her
Yes.
out safely out. And so you're just grateful that she doesn't have broken limbs or broken neck or
Yes.
any other damage from the fall.
Yes, because her stomach was so distended when they got her out, because now it's been hours since her medication. She was given medication every 4 hours around the clock.
And how long was she in the tree?
Oh, she was in for 3 hours for sure, and it had been a good 2 or 3 since I'd given her her last dose. So she was hours without meds, and her stomach was very distended, and they thought when they got her out and we went in the helicopter for care flight, they thought she had ruptured her spleen because her stomach was so distended.
Right.
So they did every test, MRIs and x-rays and sonograms, they did everything. And the doctor even said, Jesus must have been with that little girl in that tree because there was nothing. She didn't have one bug bite. She had scratches and she was wet and muddy, and that was it.
So how long until you realized that it was something more than just she was okay for the day?
Well, one of the things that I feel like God was really trying to give me lights and sirens, and I just missed it, was in the hospital that day, her stomach that night began to deflate right in front of my eyes without her medications. It just began to deflate, and it was not explainable. It wasn't because she had been given the correct medications. It wasn't because there was no reason for it. But even then, I didn't accept that.
Had it done that before at
No.
times? Was it pretty much always
It was always, well, it would deflate typically at
with the
night
medication?
with the medication and with rest, with no food or liquid.
So you kind of just dismissed it.
Yes. And so we kind of, the next day, we began giving her medication like normal, and then she shares the story with us about heaven and sitting on Jesus' lap. And
What do you think at that point?
well, I am thinking, at first, when she first said, Mommy, I went to heaven when I was in that tree, I was like, And then she said, and I sat on Jesus' lap, and he said that I couldn't stay, that he had plans for me on earth that I couldn't complete in heaven. And I thought, wait a minute.
Sure.
This is very detailed. And then she continued to give me even more details and more details. And her story never wavered. And she didn't give me random, just insignificant pieces just to elaborate. It was always just the same pieces over and over. And I didn't really know what to think. I thought,
Knocked her
why?
head, dreamed, medication.
Right, I thought, what in the world? But I believed her because she believed.
Sure.
She believed what she was saying
Right.
was very real. And so I thought, what an amazing, what amazing testimony, Annabelle, because you did survive the tree and you weren't hurt, and that was a miracle in itself.
Sure.
But then, as time began to move on, I recall looking past, back through the medical records, I called the doctor's office about 3 weeks later because she was supposed to start another round of her antibiotic. And I said, she's doing amazingly well. It had been 2 weeks. And I said, I just can't explain it, but is there a way we can not do this round of antibiotics and see? And the nurse was like, well, I'll let the doctor know that's not normal. If she begins to show, typical signs, start her back on the meds. And she never did. So we weaned her off that one. And then we started weaning her off of another one and another one. And we did tell the doctor, okay, this happened and we don't know, but we really think maybe.
And he thinks, yeah, you're just wishful thinking, half crazy parents.
So as time goes on, we just wean her off of one more, and she never really complains about pain. She doesn't complain about hurting.
Did it hurt? Anything hurt since then?
No, but it was kind of like, wow, today I'm having a good day, but don't get too used to it, or we'll be back the same tomorrow. And then it turned into, oh, today's good too, and then I'm having a good week, or I'm having a good few weeks, or I'm having a good month, or.
But how long had it been since you'd had a good month?
Yeah, never.
Right? Never?
Never. And so I was just not really like, oh, nothing's wrong with me. I was just kind of thinking like, oh, the medicines are finally starting to kick in like they should. I'm having a good 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, until I was off of no meds, and everybody was like, you're healed. And I was like, yeah, probably.
I think Annabelle's heart, though, at that time, Annabelle, I think, more believed she was healed than we did. She really did at that. I think she's heard us say that we had reservations saying she was healed, but really then, Annabelle held so dear to the story of heaven, and I don't mean to contradict her, but she, at that time, was very nonchalant, just very much like, yeah, today's a great day. And so, yeah, that's that.
It would be hard to explain.
Yeah.
And I have a question. Since I noticed that you go to a Baptist church, is it pretty traditional Southern Baptist, kind of not a lot of miracles going on?
Well,
like the one I grew up in?
No, we go to the most unbelievable, non-typical, I think, Southern Baptist church. I don't know, we're not.
So they were open to it?
They were very open, and
Great.
very much have people in our church who have been diagnosed with cancer, and we have prayed over them and prayed for them and just absolutely given it to God, and they've gone and been opened up, and there is no cancer, and the doctors have no explanation. And that hasn't happened in our congregation once. It's happened numerous times. We are very blessed.
It's in the Cottonwoods down there.
It is. It's in the Cottonwoods. So, yeah.
So now, what year was that?
So that was in 2011.
Okay. So there hasn't been any regression?
No.
She's still off the medication?
She is on
She's
zero.
living a normal life?
Yes. 0 medications. She eats, drinks, has absolutely no problem. She's been released from both of her pediatric gastroenterologist. She doesn't go to Boston. We don't go to Boston anymore. We don't go to Austin anymore.
Doctors say what?
They don't
the
know.
medication work. Was the medication supposed to work so that she could be off of it?
No.
Or was it supposed to stabilize her for the rest of her life?
Correct. She would have to take it for the rest of her life just to give her
a bit of joy.
Yeah, just to help her system process foods. And it worked, but her system still was poorly working at best. It just...
Does she eat whatever she wants or whatever you let her eat?
Oh, yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay. I can tell by that smile. Okay. So that's just, it's hard to say that something didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And the fact that she just shares the story about heaven and sitting on Jesus' lap, and then him saying, Annabelle, when the firemen get you out, there will be nothing wrong with you. There was nothing wrong with her. And it just took us a while to figure out what he meant.
Yeah.
But when
That's
we
okay.
started putting that faith in action and started taking her off those medications, and we stood on the belief, okay, you know what, God, you're right. She's healed, and we accept it. We've never looked back.
Why'd you do a book?
Because I feel like our message is such a message of hope and encouragement to so many, no matter where you are in your life, God is faithful. And I also feel like I really have this awakening in my heart of there were so many ways that God showed his faithfulness to us throughout our journey, through so many other people, but also just through him finding Dr. Nurko and just all the people that were placed in our lives, all the people, all the events, all the miracles. I mean, there were so many experiences that I feel like God has also moved in my life of, where are we responding to God in our faithfulness? Where do we see ourselves responding? And are we responding? And how often? And can you count the ways that you can count the way Christ is showing you? So I feel like that is another reason that I've been called to do this.
Yeah. They're also doing a movie.
They are doing a movie.
And not just anybody, but Sony Pictures.
Sony.
Where's that at this point?
So they have done the script, and they are currently working on placing actors and actresses into the positions and the characters.
Who do you want to play you?
I don't know.
I know who I want to
Who do
play
you
me.
want to play you?
Selena Gomez.
Oh, well, of course. Who wouldn't?
Exactly. Who wouldn't? Annabelle has a fascination with Selena Gomez. She very much thinks she's the neatest thing ever. But so yes, they're working on that. It's begin filming this summer, and it will be released. It's slotted to release Easter of 16.
Very, very cool. And it's a good crew working on that, so
Yes.
looking forward to that. Where can people catch up with you guys if they want to learn more about what's going on, maybe see where the film is at or how to get a book?
We are at www.christybeam.com.
Okay. Very good. Thank you guys. Oh, you have your own website too?
No.
No,
What do you got?
but there's not pictures in the book, and so if you're kind of wondering what does the rest of the family look like, then there's pictures of all of us. And there's some pictures of me whenever I was sick, with tubes up my nose and smiling.
Is there a picture of the tree?
There is.
Great. Check that out. You can also check them out when they're on Life Today. That is at lifetoday.org. Thanks again for sitting down and telling your story, not just to me, but to the whole world.
Thank you for having us.